Mm-hmm. Here it is. What a turd. Do not, I repeat, do not just go on the internet at lunchtime one day and start browsing for hot rods for sale. Terrible idea. You end up with this. What am I going to do with this thing? I have no idea. So here's the new to me 32 Ford sedan that I bought. Bought this thing a couple weeks ago, but I just got it. It came from near London, Ontario, and it had to get shipped out here. So as you saw in the last video from our road trip, we picked it up on our way back from Bonneville at Carl's place at Make It Custom. Uh, this thing's a turd. It is. So for starters, it's the cheapest 32 Ford I've ever seen. Like, I bought this whole car for what like a roached body sells for. So I can't complain about it because I got a smoking deal on it. I drove it home, and any 32 Ford that you can drive home is cool. But it's pretty crude. If I had looked at this car in person, I probably would not have bought it. However, that being said, I don't regret buying it. I have no buyer's remorse or anything. It is what it is. It's almost what I was expecting, but a little bit worse than what I was expecting. But I'm still happy to have it. So I don't know what to do with it though. My original plan before I saw it in person was to kind of fix, there's some weird stuff on it. The rear end is too far forward. It's got a really funky radiator that's too far forward. So I was thinking I would just kind of fix that stuff up and then just kind of clean it up, it's got doodads all over it, take that stuff off and just drive it. But now that I have the car here, I'm fighting like this inner battle because I want to blow it apart to the chassis and start over, which is probably the right thing to do. And this is a car that deserves to have that done. But my problem is I don't want it to snowball into a like year long or 2 or 3 or 10-year long project. So do I just stick to the original plan, clean up the ugly stuff on it and drive it as is as an old hot rod? Or do I blow it apart and rebuild this whole thing to like the same caliber as my Roadster, for example? I don't know. So instead of just sitting here trying to think about it, I'm just going to start doing little stuff on the car. And I think I'm going to start with what my friend Brian, the car guy, always does, is just get rid of the doodads. It'll give me time to think about my plan with it, but at the same time still be moving forward and making progress and clean the car up. So I think that's for this first video. That's what we're going to do. I'll take you on a little walk around. I'll show you some of the creative, interesting things. The guy that I got it from, he by no means misled me on this. His exact words were, you're probably going to want to take this car all apart and redo it. And he's kind of right. A lot of people think that it should just stay as is because it is a survivor hot rod. But there's a lot of stuff on here. Well, let's just say this. When I was driving it home, when we were sitting at the ferry terminal and people were all coming up all like, ooh, hot rod, ooh, hot rod, I was a little bit embarrassed to be with it just because of some of the stuff that was done to it. So anyways, I'll give you a tour of the car and then we'll start taking stuff off of it. So like I was saying, this radiator is too far forward. The issue is, so there's two styles of 32 Fords. There's like the V8 one and then there's the B model one. And the B model one is a 4-cylinder, which uses one rad hose, obviously, because it's a 4-cylinder. This is a B model rad hooked up to a V8. So to make that work, the guy moved the radiator forward and then built these funky Y-pipe systems in here. I mean, it works, I think. There's no temperature gauge on the car, so I don't know how well it works. But I don't know, I'm sure it's been like this for a long time. But the rad being too far forward and too high, because it's mounted super weird, like this is just a U-bolt that it's mounted on. That, I think, really makes the aesthetics of the car not pleasing. So That's one of the main concerns. We got, this is like a hood side that's put in there. I don't know how effective it is with the way the louvers are. But yeah, we're going to change that. I'd like to go back to just a normal insert. What else do we have on here? We've got these fenders that don't really line up. They need to go. The back wheels as well do not line up. Carl said it perfect when it's over at his place. He's like it's like the whole body just got pushed back on the frame. So the reason the back wheels are like this car is mounted on 36 Ford wishbones, which have the spring hanger built into them, but it still has the 32 Ford spring, and the 32 Ford spring isn't straight. It arcs like this. So because you have a 32 spring with 36 wishbones, it pushes everything forward. The way to fix this would be to put like a 35 to 40 Ford spring in, which is straight, and when it's sitting in the cross member, it will move everything back. So that sounds easy, but it does have a couple challenges. The wishbones mounts, isn't that nice? Look at that. Yeah. So these wishbone mounts will have to move back. The emergency brake cables will have to be redone. The drive shaft will have to be redone because it will be too short now. So that's what's involved with moving that back. Not a huge deal. So now moving along to some of the reasons why I kind of want to just blow this car right apart and start over is we've got lots of like this kind of stuff. So steering wheel, not tight. Steering column, not tight. The whole car was basically built like this. There's no proper battery clamp on there. It's just the wire sandwiched in there. He put a new master cylinder on. It looks like a 67 Mustang style master cylinder, but it does not work. The car has, the brakes only work on one wheel, and you got to pump it like 5 times to get them to work. Under the wiring it needs to be completely redone. The lights don't work or anything like that. In the back here, we've got a new 32 Ford gas tank held in with old rotten bungee cords. I don't know what's going on here with that. There's like no hose clamps on anything. It leaks when you step on the brakes. It just dumps gas billows out of there. Up front here, we've got this motor mount on one side, this motor mount on the other side. It's hitting the firewall right here because the motor's too high. We've got this like alternator bracket made out of I don't know what stuff that was just laying around. The exhaust. So yeah, I don't know what size this pipe is, but it looks like it's off like a mini bike. And it's held on with like bungee cords. Got some wire dangling here. I don't know what that's all about, but it's just laying on the exhaust. Brake lines are just floating around in there. We've got a piece of water pipe for a fan spacer. Stuff like that. That's why I kind of want to just blow it apart and start over. It's got all the right pieces to it. It just needs to kind of be taken apart, rearranged, and put back together. So anyways, I'm going to start with, like I said, just taking off some of the doodads, kind of clean it up a little bit. We'll start with that. That fender was pretty simple to get off. It just was bolted on through one of the backing plate bolts and through a wheel cylinder bolt here. So I did have to take the hub off. But I did notice, I think I know why the brakes don't work on this wheel is, let's see if we can get this peeled back here. That wheel cylinder is leaking. which explains why it's so wet in here. It's a shame because it actually looks like a pretty new wheel cylinder. So I think we'll order some new wheel cylinders for the front. The wheel bearings, I mean, I just glanced at them, but they seemed okay. This wheel bearing was a little bit loose. Kingpin was tight, so that's a good thing. Tie rod doesn't feel terrible, so that's a good thing. I think I'm gonna just make a list of stuff that it's gonna need. Another thing I just noticed as I was putting this back together, and I think I found why the wheel bearing was loose. The spindle nut, it went on too far, so that when you went to put the cotter pin through, it didn't actually go through the castle part. So I just put 2 washers in there to kind of take up the space, and now the cotter pin fits in there. Before, the cotter pin was just kind of out here in no man's land. So I mean, driving along, that nut it can loosen off. Not that it would ever like fall off, because the cotter pin would eventually hit the nut and stop it, but it'll still give you a loose wheel bearing in the meantime. So we got that back together now. This is all kind of temporary. I got to take it apart anyways to fix the brakes up when we get to that point, but at least it's one less thing we have to worry about now. This side was basically the same deal. So both fenders are off now. If anybody wants those, let me know. I just realized the headlights aren't straight. Or maybe the headlights are straight and it's the grill that's not straight. I don't know. Either way, this is next. I start with this, get this out of here. I don't have another rad to put on right now, but I mean, no rad at all will look nicer than that. So that's the next step. Well, that was messy. There's no drain anywhere in this system, so I just busted this guy apart and hoped for the best. Oh. There we go. Got lots of cardboard though. That'll soak it up. $19 hose clamps holding that coolant system together. Man, this guy must have had like a discount at the hardware store. There's 19 hose clamps and all those fittings. Like you could have bought the correct radiator for this car, the amount of money that you spent in hose clamps. I've never seen a pulley like this before. Maybe somebody watching this video knows more about this than I do. But it doesn't look like a normal Ford flathead pulley. And it's got this like little like woohoo spacer in there. This is what I'm used to. This is, oh, you can't see that, it's dark. Anyways, that's a regular 8BA style fan from like a 49 to 53, 54 in Canada truck. That's the kind of fan that they used. That's what I'll have to find for this guy, because that's going to stick way too far forward. All right, I've decided I'm actually going to pull the body off. That decision was mainly based on the fact that there's no bolts holding the body on, except for this one here, but it doesn't have a nut on it. So really, this U-bolt around the steering column is all we have to take off, and then this body should lift off. I'm just tearing everything off that needs to be redone. This is part of why the car's coming completely apart. Brake lines are they're resting on the spring. Here's the wiring, the headlight wiring, stuff like that. So everything I'm keeping, I'm writing on a list that will get taped to the front of this thing, this tote here. So far, I've just got 2 shocks, and I don't even think I'll use those, but at least then I have them for reference if I do go to replace them. So just starting at the front and working my way back. Gonna pull I think all I got left is the fuel tank, which is full of fuel now. That'll be fun. Undo this column drop, and then when I said there's only 1 bolt holding it in, there actually is a couple more, so the body wasn't gonna fall off. But yeah, we're just about ready to lift the body off. The only problem with lifting the body off is I'm in the shop by myself right now, so I can't actually. Ooh, that stinks like gas. So also no hose clamps on any of the fuel system. It just pulls on and off, quick release. Yeah, I can't lift the body off by myself, and I don't know where I would put it. So I'm gonna keep thinking on that. I got a bit of time still. Who knows, maybe somebody will show up. Also, there's my steering wheel. I don't know if you noticed in the last video when I was driving it home, the steering wheel was shaking like crazy. It is not tight. But, I mean, it didn't fall off. The one nice thing about everything being not tight is this car is coming apart really, really easy. Fuel line off. See how much gas dumps out of this as I pull it through. Oh, a little bit. Oh, man. I could go get more gas with this. This is a nice length. I mean, have you seen the price of gas these days? Just undoing the column drop here, and I realized the column drop is a bumper bracket. How resourceful. I also noticed the alternator bracket is actually the original generator bracket, just reworked, which is also resourceful. So as much as people like to, criticize this kind of stuff, the people that can do these kind of repairs are the people that are gonna get you home when you're broke down in the middle of nowhere and just find stuff in the ditch to fix your car with. This guy, he'll get you home. That being said, now that we're home, we're gonna fix this. Okay, everything's done in here. I got all the wiring out, steering column undone, all the body is unbolted. So I just got everybody's coming over right now, and they're gonna give me a hand. We're gonna lift the body off, put it outside, and then I can focus on the chassis. Shane just pulled up. Doug just pulled up over there. Jim's on his way, and my friend Steve is on his way. So between the 6 of us, that should be lots of people to get this off, hopefully.
Come here. Firewall came with it. Watch your steering wheel then. Oh God. Hold on.
Mr. Fire chain? There you go.
It's a wheel, hang on. Hang on. Watch your hand. Watch your hand. Here. Hang on.
Cool. So when I left Carl's place, it had brakes. Well, sort of. The brakes only worked on this wheel. By the time I got to the ferries, it was down to 3 pumps to get it to work. And then by the time I got back to the shop, when I parked it over there, it literally bounced into the curb. And I think I found out why. So the master cylinder, the way it's mounted here, you can't get a little clamp on to hold the lid. So the lid's literally just flopping around. And there's no brake juice left in there. So that's probably why that brakes don't work. So yeah, we're gonna fix that. Once again, this is just more reasons why we're blowing this thing apart. The shocks back here. You know when you buy brand new shocks and they come in the box and they're all clamped shut with that? Oh, those are still on there. So I don't know, maybe he was planning on returning these shocks if they didn't work. But at the end of the day, though, I mean, it still has good bones. We'll take it all apart, clean it up, put it back together, and rock and roll. Okay, well, this project kind of escalated quickly, considering at the beginning of this video, which was just yesterday afternoon, I drove this car in here, and now here it is. So I just put it away the rest of the afternoon and took like the old fuel line, the original fuel line off, brake lines, any random wires, rear shocks, just random little bits like that. I think that's where I'm going to end this video. So thanks very much for watching. As always, make sure to check out the website, lgspeedcustom.com, where we got cool shirts like this that have this. The ones you buy won't have a gas stain on it, but you can put a gas stain on it, like I did today. Also got gas in my eyes. Sucked. I pulled the fuel line off and it just so. But that's part of building cars. So yeah, check out the website, lgspeedcustom.com. Check out thecavaleros.com. All the music in this video was done by local Victoria surf band, the Cavaleros. And thanks for watching. If you haven't already subscribed, subscribe. I don't need to tell you guys that. You'll subscribe if you want to subscribe. I don't need to tell you to subscribe. So we're going to continue on with this project probably later in the week. I guess probably start on it next Friday again. So stay tuned for future 32 Ford stuff. See you later. What are you guys doing? Hi, Jake.